What's good, YouTube? And I'm back with another video. I ain't dropped a little video on them. I'd say about 2 weeks. I think something like that. I've been tired, bro, working on these ships and shit. As whoever knows me know, I'm a merchant seaman, so I be working, bro. I be tired. But today I want to sit down and talk about something that I feel like is really important. And as y'all know, June is Men's Mental Health Month. And honestly, I couldn't let this month fly by without speaking on it. I just really had to get my thoughts together for this, video. On this channel, we talk about spiritual things, about, growing and motivation. But today, I wanted to focus on men, not because nobody else or women don't matter, because, I also speak for everybody else too, not just for the men on this channel. But I wanted to come talk about men's mental health. And the truth is, a lot of men are struggling right now. Some men are struggling financially, emotionally, and even struggling mentally. Some of us are carrying burdens that we never talk about. And if we're being honest, a lot of us, man, we feel like that we have to keep everything inside because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to feel misunderstood or seen as being weak. So instead of talking about it, we just keep moving. We keep working, we keep pushing every day. We keep showing up for everybody else, even while we fighting battles inside that nobody knows about. The reason this really means something to me because I've been through things myself. I dealt with depression. I've questioned my purpose. I've taken losses. I've lost people. I watch people that I care about, make choices that change their life forever. I've had seasons where I felt stuck and I didn't know what was next. But, this video right here is not about me. You know, my experience are only, part of the conversation. You know, this video is for every man who has ever felt like he was carrying weight on his shoulders and just needs some type of uplift, you know? So we about to get into it. So one thing I want to say though, right? One thing I learned throughout life is that being a man comes with a lot, whether people want to admit it or not. There are expectations placed on us men, especially at a young age. We're expected to be strong. We're expected to provide. We're expected to do all these things. We're expected to have answers to everything and figure everything out on our own. Even when life is, hitting us in every direction. And people still expect us to keep going. And it takes a lot on our shoulders. A lot of people only see the outside. They see you going to work. They see you on the internet doing certain things, and it seems like you living life. They see you handling certain things. They see you helping other people and showing up for everybody else. But what they don't always see is what it's costing you mentally, because it takes a lot on your shoulders. They don't see the stress you go through. They don't see them nights where you can't sleep. They don't see them nights where you praying, talking to God, wishing things to get better. They don't see all that. They don't see that pressure that come with trying to hold everything together, trying to figure out your life and the purpose you got. Sometimes it feels like us men, we're not allowed to break down. It feels like the moment you show you weak, people start looking at you the same way. So what happens? A lot of us, men, we put on a mask and we tell everybody that we good even though we not. We keep pushing even when we're exhausted, bro. Like, we keep carrying this weight that nobody was meant to carry alone. We wasn't meant to carry all this on our shoulders. That's why mental health is real. It's very important. Excuse me. And one thing, I think is one of the biggest reasons that men, suffer with mental health is because we suffer in silence, like I have said. We live in a world where sometimes we don't feel like we have a safe place. We feel like if we open up, we'll be judged. We'll feel like if we're struggling with certain things, people don't understand. So instead of talking about it, you know what we do? We just hold it in. We keep it inside. Like, I'm a man, I'm good. Everything will be all right. You know, the problem is that the pain doesn't just disappear because, you know, you're still going through it in the moment. You know, especially depression. Depression doesn't disappear because you smile through it all. All those things, they build up over time. It really affects the way you think. It affects the way you feel. That shit affects your confidence, your motivation, and you know, your relationships, your friendships, and even your peace and everything around you. You know, I've had friends who look strong on the outside but were fighting battles that nobody knew about. I've been one of those people too. You know, you can have all the money in the world, but if you're not happy and you're not good mentally, you lose yourself. You know, this is one of the important conversations to have, especially with your friends or anybody, because sometimes the strongest people, you know, they carrying the most, and you would never realize it, bro. You would never realize it, I promise you. And one thing I want every man watching this video to understand is that, you know, it's okay not to be okay. It's okay, bro. I've been there. You know, I know everybody try to, you know, hold everything in. But the truth is, you human just like anybody else. You have difficult seasons. You're going to have moments where you don't know what's going on. You don't know what you're doing. You know, you're going to have days where you're overwhelmed. It's also okay not to feel like you have life figured out. You know, I know, you know, social media has created this idea that everybody's supposed to have everything together at a certain age. You know, everybody looks successful. You know, everybody looks happy. What people don't show you is that they're struggling behind the scenes. They don't show you the setbacks. They don't show you the doubts. They don't show you the nights where they're wondering if they're making the right decisions. They don't show you none of that. And that's what people have to understand. So if you're ever in a season where you're trying to figure life out and figure things out, don't beat yourself up about it. You know, don't question your purpose. You know, if you're struggling mentally, don't beat yourself up. None of that makes you weak. It makes you human. You have emotions just like anybody else. Life is a journey, bro. And every single person out here is trying to figure something out. They trying to figure life out. And if I'm being honest, life has humbled me more than I can count. I done dealt with depression. I done gone through seasons where I felt lost. I done questioned my purpose. I done took losses that hurt. And I watched people, you know, I care about throw opportunities away. I didn't experience where I genuinely didn't understand why certain things were happening in my life. And that's where, you know, the times I felt frustrated, bro. Times I felt mentally exhausted. I didn't know what was going on. You know, mental health is real. I had times where I felt like I was carrying, you know, more than I could. And if you ever been in a place like that, then you know how lonely it can feel. You know what it feels like sitting with your thoughts, being by yourself. You know, wondering when things gonna get better. You know, just really wanting peace within your life. And you know, one thing I would learn from like all them seasons I went through and every struggle, it taught me something, bro. Every setback taught me something. Every loss I went through, it taught me something. Looking back, some of the moments I felt like, you know, they were breaking me. They were actually building me. And I think that's something that, you know, a lot of people don't realize until later. So we really have to think about that. And this, why men's mental health matters. Mental health matters because your mind matters, the way you think matters, the way you process things matters, the way you handle stress, all that matters. It plays a big part in your life. If your mental health isn't in a good place, it becomes harder to show up for yourself each and every day and the people around you. You know, a lot of us men spend so much time taking care of everybody else that we forget to take care of ourselves. You know, We make sure everybody else good while ignoring what's happening on our own mind. But eventually, you got to check with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself, and you have to recognize what when you are carrying too much weight, because your peace matters, your well-being matters. Your future matters, and taking care of your mental health doesn't make you weak. You human, bro, just like anybody else. You got emotions too. You know, it means you're paying attention to something important when you really focus on your mental health. Cause I says, man, we carry a lot. And if you watching this and you going through a difficult season right now, I want to encourage you to keep fighting. Not because life is easy. Not because everything magically is going to get better overnight. Because your story isn't over. You know, I've learned that some of the hardest seasons in your life will end up teaching you so many lessons. So many. See, like the losses teach you resilience. The setbacks, they teach you, what's the word? Preservate. Y'all know what I'm saying. I can't even get the word out, but it teach you character development, teach you how to grow each and every day. And you learn through each and everything you go through in life. See, the things we go through, they don't cancel our purpose. You know, your setbacks don't cancel what you go through. Your mistakes, they don't cancel none of that out. We all have a purpose here in this life. God created us for a reason. It's a lot of things that happen in life that we will never understand. But in the end, I feel like everything will get better if you have trust and faith in the Lord, and you have trust and you trust God with everything you go through in your life. It's gonna be alright. I went through depression for 3 years, bro. I'm happy now. I still have my days though where I go through things, but I'm not depressed anymore. I'm happy. I wake up every day and I thank God. Men's mental health, coming to an end. I just want to speak directly to every man. You're not alone. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to have everything figured out. And it's okay to admit that, life is hard sometimes. I don't care what nobody say. Life gets hard, bro. But what matters is when you keep going, when you keep fighting, you keep growing, you keep trying to learn each and every day. Keep on moving forward one day at a time. And if nobody has told you today, let me be the one to tell you this. Your life matters, bro. Your mental health matters. And your story ain't over. And God got a purpose for you. But I appreciate y'all for watching. I hope this touched somebody. And, much love to all the men out there. Make sure y'all stay strong. Make sure y'all pray. Talk to God. Take care of yourself. And keep trying to grow mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Every day. Check with yourself first. Make sure you good first. Check on your brothers. Check on anybody going through anything mentally. But I'll catch y'all in the next video.